live in the present as if you already have the stuff. And if I look back in the past, I've done that before without knowing who this person was, and I just instinctually did that, and that the shit worked.
You're alone again. I shouldn't be thinking of you, thinking of me. I know.
Greetings, everybody. This is Mike, and this is the dailyBred podcast, where I sit on my couch in my apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I talk to nobody, and then I put it online, and people listen. So that's you right now. Today, I've got a bunch of things that I want to talk about, and I think anyone listening or anyone new to this podcast or anyone new to the comic who then finds this podcast might be like, why is this guy talking about himself? And I think that it helps humanize people a bit more because all I'm doing is posting this character on my account, which kind of puts up this wall between me and anyone else. Because, fun fact, if you didn't know, and I've said this in other episodes, but you might be new, but the Instagram account, the dailyBred Instagram account, was my personal account in the very beginning. And when I started this comic, I haven't stopped drawing every day for 4 years. So it just turned into this. So if you scroll way down, you can actually see, like, you could see my life before it turned into this. And it's funny because you follow the breadcrumbs. It shows when I was married. It shows when I was divorced. It shows me traveling the country. It shows me when I got to Raleigh, trying all these different things, trying to promote my animation company, and then even posting random sketches that I was doing. So at the time when I came to Raleigh, I was trying to just clear my head and start new and just like a different place because I had to get out of Jersey because everything was just too familiar. There's too much history, and down here there's nothing. So if I'm on a certain street, if I look at a certain building, if I go to a certain like coffee shop or go grocery shopping, there's no attachment to history. But now in the last 6 years I've lived here, it's the history that I've made by myself with no like sad things. I mean, there's like a couple spots around town where now it's a little tainted, and I don't want to say it like that because I think there's a way that words 100% have an effect and make something a reality, which is also what I'm going to talk about today. There's a hotel in town where a person who I talked about many times prior to this, she came to visit, and so every time I pass that, I think about her, and it just ended. So it's like, oh, that's a bummer, because it was a positive memory, and I don't want to say it's a negative memory because then that's just making negative space, creating a space for negativity. So, but there's no like really sad things. Anyway, that's why I'm in Raleigh. And but yeah, so I think drawing a comic, and it went from a personalized account to then this comic character which is just really me getting away with saying things that are on my brain, which have turned into all these fun things that I'm able to do with like books and stickers and just like random sticky notes around town, or drawing on index cards or drawing on menus, or just whatever. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But so this is my way of saying like, hey, here's the personal side too. And then I talk about my life because it helps me vent and get it out there. And today, like the last episode I did, I was saying how I was lost and bummed out. And what I found is I think I'm very connected to like the universe. So when I say something, it manifests very fast, and I forget that I have this ability. Because I'm very just tuned into it or just down with it. And I've noticed if I go back in my life, I'm like, yeah, when I got this, I just was like, yeah, I want this, or this is going to happen, and it happens. And I forget that I forget that people are able to do that. And it sounds like anyone listening is probably like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But, really try it. It does work. And I just get into this kind of funk sometimes, as we all do. And I forget to get myself out of it. And what I realized for now, what I'm constantly trying to get help from people like business coaches or life coaches or nutritionists and all these people. And I think what I realize now is I had all those stepping stone, like all of that help through the years, and it just became very clear to me right now that it's really just on me now. I mean, it's always been on me, but I've had other people been around to kind of help and show me the way. And I think what I'm trying to be shown, or what I am being shown now, is that it's time for me to stop relying on people and really make the steps to make these changes or advance. And I'm a big fan of doing everything by myself because I don't really rely on anyone. And unless I'm like paying for their advice. So it's this weird thing where I'm a huge extrovert, but I'm also when I go out, I like to be in public because of like the noise, and I feel like I'm surrounded by people and it's alive and it's moving. That's why I like try to get out of my apartment as much as possible because when I'm here, I'm just kind of solo and by myself, and I feel isolated or lonely until like a certain part of the. So then it's weird because then it's like 7 o'clock at night or something, and if I know I'm staying in, then I'm comfortable and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna stay in. But Um, but I'm constantly from a person who has worked for himself for 17 years, and I've been single for 8 years now, and dated someone for a minute, but it wasn't anything too serious. We were a couple, and she's great, and I've talked to her before, and she's got a new life, with, like this guy that she's married, and it's awesome. It's like, but as for us as a couple, we never really had that like love connection, and so I haven't had that in now 8 years, and I haven't had a boss in more than 8 years. So I'm very solo, and it's funny that I'm constantly like asking people like, how do I do this? Like, how do I lose weight? How do I mentally become into fitness? Like how do I grow my company? And I've done that in the past, and I think now what I've realized is, like I said earlier, is I think what I'm being shown is I've got to just start doing and just going for it without knowing and just saying like, but I need to have direction. And that's the one thing I've been missing is I haven't had like a real need to go anywhere. Like I'm kind of just sitting in place. But then I had said out loud, even, I mean, especially with the episode, because I'm saying like, I don't know what I'm just kind of stuck. And as I'm saying that out loud, it's kind of thrown out to the universe. And my sister came out of nowhere and she texted me and she was like, "Hey, you might want to check out this book." This is a woman called Louise Hayes, and I'm sure people listening have heard of her. And I didn't even know who she was. I guess she's been around forever. She's like the original, like OG self-help person. So I listened to this book, and I think it's like You Can Heal Yourself. What the hell is this thing called? It is called You Can Heal Your Life. So I listened to it, and what I liked about it is that she was just like, it's really simple. Is like just start reframing how you say things. Instead of saying like I should do this, you're like I could do this, and then say why. Or you start saying I am this or I have this, and you live in the present as if you already have the stuff. And if I look back in the past, I've done that before without knowing who this person was, and I just instinctually did that, and that this shit worked. And I just kind of thought it was, I didn't really put a name to it or what was happening. Like I got my Jeep a couple years ago, and I remember, I think I've told this story on the podcast, but I woke up one day and I had this vision board of these things that I wanted. And like it's one thing when you say you want it and you're like, "Oh yeah, it would really be cool if I had this or this." And it just dawned on me. I was like, "All right, like I'm in North Carolina. It's always warm the majority of the year. Like I've said I want to get a Jeep, but I kept pushing it off and say, well, I have to have this big, nice wooden home in the middle of like the mountains or something, and then I would park there, and then my vision was I'd be driving on a Friday after the work week to this place, and I'd get out, and my Jeep was there, and I was gonna have this great time with it. And I was just like, why don't I just get this now? And it dawned on me, and I was working with a life coach at the time. Her name's Christine Clifton, and she lives down here in North Carolina, and we've been friends since New Jersey when I lived up there. And I was working with her, and I text her and I said, "Oh my God, I just feel like my birthday was coming up," and I said, "I'm going to have a Jeep by my birthday." And she sent me back a picture of an orange Jeep that was two doors, and it was the exact Jeep that I had in mind. Like I was very specific with it. I wanted a two-door orange Jeep that was a like a Wrangler, and there was some other. Oh, and I wanted to be automatic. And she sent me the picture of this, and I was like, "Wait, what the hell?" She's like, "Yeah, I just saw a Jeep and thought of you because you talk about them, and I just took a picture and I forgot to send it to you." And I was like, "Did I ever say that that's the exact kind of Jeep that I want?" And she said, "No." So I was like, "That's so fucking weird." But I felt in my stomach, I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna happen." And then 2 weeks later, I had a Jeep. And granted, I had to pay money for it. It didn't just show up in my life. But the way that I found it was I was driving down the street and I was looking for it. I was driving up the highway to drop my dog off to my dog at the time to a daycare for the morning. And I left, and I was like, I'm gonna go check out the other Jeep place. So I started driving Jeep. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna make this real, I need to drive this thing and make this work, and I have to like feel what this is like and make it alive. And I started doing that, and I started looking at Jeeps, and then I had started putting the the wheels in motion, I guess, and I was driving up to go to this other Jeep place, and I looked to my left, and just in the distance, I happened to see an orange Jeep on a lot in a dealership. And I just drove to it. I walked in. I was like, "This is exactly what I want." And I ended up leaving that day with it. Like the part, like left the fucking lot with it. And I actually paid it off back in April of this year, or March or April of this year, which was crazy. So now I'm trying to say, all right, well, what is it that I want? What do I need? And by doing this, I started journaling after my sister recommended the book, and I listened to it, and then she had said that it changed her life 3 years ago. So I talked to her last week, and I was like, all right, well, what did you do? I'm a big fan of doing things. And she's like, well, I journaled a lot, like almost every day, and I changed, writing it changed my thoughts and stuff. And so I started doing it, and and I just feel like better. And I think I know that it's like it created this excitement because I'm like, ooh, like things are happening, things are great. All right, and I feel things moving, or like energy's kind of moving around in a good space. And like yesterday, I had kind of a negative headspace in the morning, and then I went out with friends, and I just really showed up. And I went to a friend's party, and it was cool being around people. But I didn't know pretty much anybody. I knew two people there, and there was probably like maybe 20. And I kind of just brought this energy, and I was just walking to people. I was like, "Hey, I don't know you, but I'm just gonna interrupt your conversation and talk to you." And so I was just making things happen, and it just felt like I was bringing a different vibe to the situation, which felt great, And right now, I guess my mission is to like I really want to find like my fucking partner in crime. Like I really want to find someone again that's like the love of my life. Like I really like that's my goal. And because the business is going well, my Drive 80 animation company is going well, and I'm super busy with that. And that's like another thing too. I need to really reframe my mindset on that because it's from doing it for so long. It's kind of like I'm kind of blah with it, but I want to be excited about it. So I have to start working towards that. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I really want to, and I've said it over the last year or so. I was like, I'm just lonely. But I'm like writing in my journal, like I know I am with this person, and I'm writing down all these characteristics, or like I have the best relationship and things like that. So that's like what I'm doing right now, and it feels. I mean, you could probably hear a difference in my voice compared to last week, or 2 weeks ago when I launched that episode. And I don't know, it's weird that and it's not in front of me. I don't have it in my surroundings, right? Like I'm in my apartment right now. I don't have someone sitting next to me, but like I feel that things are happening and it's exciting. So with my sister, when she did it, she said a month later after she started doing it, like she met her now husband. And I was like, that sounds exciting. And it sounds fun and it sounds like playful to like walk into the world and say like, oh, what can I do today? Like, what can I create today? And the other day I was journaling and I left and this is like Wednesday or Thursday, and I was just drove down the street to get like a sandwich because a buddy of mine was eating a sandwich in front of me at my office, and I was like, I haven't had a sub in fucking forever, and it was like a Jersey Mike's. And I was like, I don't really want Jersey Mike's, but there's this place called Alimentari or Terry in Raleigh, and I drove to it because I was like, they have these mini sandwiches, so I like bought a couple of them, and I walked out, and my buddy Craig was across the street because he has a bitters company, Crude Bitters, in Raleigh, North Carolina, on Davie Street, right across from Transfer Co. And he came out and he's like, "Hey, Mike," he's like, "I was just texting you. I need to get more of your books." So I left. So my buddy Tom suggested that I leave some of my couples checklist books with Craig and see if he wants to sell it at his bittery. The Pink House is where he has like a storefront. And so I asked Craig. He's like, "Yeah, bring some down." So apparently, like over the Thanksgiving, like Black Friday or whatever it was, he sold like 8 or 10 of my books. And so he came out and told me that, and he's like, I need more books. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And when I came home, I opened my journal to just start writing again. And the last thing I wrote was, I'm, I am a successful comic creator. And I just thought that was so crazy. And I think people listening, if you're in the same mindset that I am, in the positive, you'd be like, wow, that's crazy, that's awesome. And if you're in the opposite one, you could probably poke holes and say, well, and sure, that could be that reality, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna live in this reality that this happened because of this. And then I started in the beginning of the year, or when I created my couples checklist book, my goal by the end of the year was to sell 10,000 copies. And I said, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how to sell a book, but that's my goal. And I haven't. I haven't at all. I've maybe sold, fuck man, like I don't know, over 100, or like between selling and giving them away. That's pretty good though. I haven't had that book for that long, so I'm pretty excited about that. And so when that happened at Craig's place, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna just believe that I sold 10,000 books. And I think if I really, really believed it without, there's parts of it where I'm like, I don't know, and like that stuff has to go away. But I was like, you know what? I could really do that. And I thought about it, and I was just kind of like, well, how would that happen? Because I mean, you're really not supposed to focus on the how. But I thought, well, I guess technically, someone who's out there in the world sees one of the books, and they're like, what is this? And someone says, oh, it's this couple's checklist, or maybe they bought it for them and their partner, and they're maybe a book publisher, and they reach out to me before January 1, and they say, hey, like we want to print 10,000 of these and we want to sell them. I mean, like that could happen. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be open to this possibility that this shit can go down like that. So that's where my mind's going. It's like, what can I play with now? Like, what's cool and just simple, and just writing words down on a piece of paper just made that start to happen, and which is really cool. And another thing that really dawned on me the other day, kind of about how I was saying earlier that I'm not much of a team player, or I like to do things solo, and I haven't worked for a company in so long. I was out and something triggered a memory, and I remembered growing up, I played soccer, and I was in high school, and I remember not being like I was on a team, but I never felt like I was a part of the team. I was the slowest one. I was like this fat kid. I wasn't very good. As a little kid, I was very good at soccer, and then as an adult, these guys were better, and we were like the worst soccer team. So it's like if I'm not that good, and the rest of the team they're better than me, and everyone else is like way better than them, so that means that they were fucking like nothing. But I remembered that I just never felt a part of the team, and then I went back and thought about growing up, and I was a little kid, and I broke my leg when I was fifth grade, and that's when I became like chubby. And I was on a baseball team. Was when I came back. The coach before that, I was like a catcher, and I started pitching, and so I was doing these cool, these really good positions. When I came back, I just had gained weight, and the coach just threw me in left field, and he would leave me out there for 2 innings at the end of the game, and that's where I was. And that was the first time I did made a decision as a kid, and I stepped up and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I remember it so vividly. I rode my bike to practice, and I took the coach aside, and I was like, I'm quitting. And which was crazy because not crazy, but it was also awkward because my two buddies, we rode our bikes together to the fucking practice, but they were still in the team, so they stayed in practice, and I walked across the field and sat there and waited for them to be done with practice so we can go home. To this day, I mean, it's so clear, and it just dawned on me. I was like, this is why I don't work well in a team setting, or I don't go in that setting. Like, that's where I work for myself. I just don't believe in teams. Even though I worked with this nonprofit called Band Together this year, and like I was a part of that team, and I brought my skill set there, and I was like, okay, like I'm just a cog in the wheel, and that's fine. So I let myself do that because I also felt that it felt like a team. And the only other time I think I felt that, I'm sure there's other minuscule times, but I felt that when I was living in Morristown, New Jersey, and I first signed up for CrossFit, and I was part of a community, and then that just ended poorly because I had a lot of shit I had to work through, and I felt that the owner, and I did an episode about this way back. I think it was called, I forget what it was called. It was like CrossFit or something. And we had butted heads because I just had this vision of what it should be, and I felt like the community was being taken away from me. And then it went back to me thinking, oh, that's like when my dad met my stepmom, and he was like just focused on her, and I was 10 years old, and I was like, okay, well, I don't, you know, I don't like when the community I'm involved in or the loved ones I'm involved in just kind of push me aside, and that carried into that, and that just made me not handle the situation very well. So now, many years later, I can see that and say like, yeah, like I was at fault, and I can see where I was wrong and not put blame on someone else. But when it dawned on me with the whole team thing, I was like, holy shit, like that's why I don't like working for companies. I just never felt a part of a team. So I brought that now, and I think what triggered that is the book that I was reading, which also led to, and I was talking to my sister, and she said, journal and stuff. She's like, oh, you should check out this book called You're a Badass. So I got that, and she says, what happened to you back in the day that is the story you're telling now, which is like, oh, I don't work well with teams, so that's just who I am. And then it made me think of, well, when did that start happening? It's like, holy shit, that started when I left the baseball team. Or when I was really little and I was on a basketball team. Now I'm thinking about it, I was part of a team and I wasn't really good, so I was just forced to sit on the bench. So I never felt like I was like valuable. I feel like the coaches never saw me as like a valuable asset. So it just made me think like, okay, fine, like I am a valuable asset. I don't need to prove to you any of you fuckers that I am. So by not being part of your company or your team, I don't have to get your validation. I'll just do it on my own. It was just like, that's crazy. So and I don't know what to do with that. It's not like I'm going to go out and get a job. But I think sometimes having that realization just opens up these doors in your mind, or like you're able to let it go and say, well, that happened years ago or whenever it was. It's not even real. It's not even in front of me. It's the past. It's a memory. Not even a very clear memory. It's just like, it's kind of clear, but there's a lot of details from that I'm probably missing. So I'm like, I wonder if part of it, through writing this stuff, it's unlocking memories to let them go and not hold me back. And by writing where I want to be now, it's exciting because it's like, okay, cool. Like now, like I look forward and see this just blank canvas instead of saying, oh, well, it's just another year and it's going to be fucking winter and, I can't do anything till March because that's when it starts getting nice and, fucking pandemic and shit. Like I see it as this playground of, wow, like if I'm writing this and say like I am happy now, it's like, whoa, who's this person going to be? Like this is exciting. And or if I'm like famous comic creator, if I'm successful and I'm living off of that, like, oh, how's that gonna happen? That's fun. And it's a cool place to be. And like, yeah, I'm not stupid and think that I'm gonna go through life and not have curveballs thrown at me. I'm sure there'll be episodes where I'm like, hey, this is fucking crazy. It's like I did an episode last year where I said I'm really into somebody, and at the time it was exactly what I needed, and I was in a different mindset of where I wanted to go, and she was just not. And I even said at the end of that episode, like, who knows, maybe she won't stay with me. And I think maybe I manifested that. I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe I was saying that to set myself up. So now I actually kind of want to retract and say I'm going to have episodes where I'll talk about negative things. Because then it's just setting up like, then it's a fear of like, oh no, shit, I can't do anything because that bad thing's going to happen. So I'm just going to be like, all this fun stuff. Even saying that, like, I just felt like, oh shit. So it's amazing what words, even in the real time, will do to you. So I think writing all these I ams, I haves, it does help reframe the brain. I've only been doing this for like a week, so it's just even feeling that excitement's cool. And I know I'm kind of usually these are shorter episodes, but I feel like talking a lot right now. So sip of cold brew coffee there. Um, Another thing that really dawned on me is I was just signed up for this gym, and it was cool, and it was a really great facility, and the people owned it, the guy who owns it is awesome, and I just wasn't going. And what really dawned on me is I miss community. Like I have friends here, and we get together a lot during the week and stuff, but I miss the first CrossFit I went to, which I was just talking about. There was this really awesome community that we created, and I felt like I walked in the room and I was a part of something. And people knew me, I knew them. I was happy to be there. It got my ass to go there because I knew that I had people there that would motivate me, and vice versa. And at this gym I was going to, even if you were part of a class, it was just they'd warm you up and then you were off on your own, just doing the workouts that they gave you, like individually. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going because I'm not talking to anybody. And I need that sense of belonging because the majority of my life, not 100% of my life, or like 99% of my life, I'm by myself. And I was like, I need to start getting back in a community setting again. Like I need to go and do things that are healthy, but that are also a part of something, where I'm a part of something. And it just came very clear to me this week. And I woke up on Monday, and I went out the day before with my friends, and we were just doing a lot of drinking, and which is just the stupidest thing to do on a Sunday, but fuck it, it's just what we do. And we're doing shots and all this stuff, and I woke up on Monday, I was like, I am just not gonna do anything. And I think if you look back at my comics, is I'm just not here today. Because it's like shots equates to I'm not here today, and that's what happens. So I just kind of made a day and was like, you know what? I'm not working today. I'm just gonna drive around. I'm gonna get coffee. I'm gonna walk around town. I'm just gonna just wherever my mind wants me to go, I'm gonna go. And it just popped in my brain. I was like, cancel your gym membership, man. Like, do something different. Do something that puts you in a community. So I ended up, there's a yoga studio that opened up literally a block from my apartment, and it's great. It's an amazing studio, and it's 99 bucks for the month, unlimited. And if I'm like, well, if I'm gonna go on this healing journey that I'm on for my brain, and then also like my hands have been really sore lately, and like I've had joint pain and like inflammation pain, so I need to, as I say, I went and did shots last week, so obviously I can know what the culprit is. But I was like, if I'm gonna go on this path, I want to not dread going to this place. I want to be around people where there's a possibility of becoming part of a community. And I don't want to kill myself because I've gone to the gym and done weights for the last 10 years, like CrossFit and just weightlifting and powerlifting and stuff. And it hasn't stuck around. Like it comes and goes. And there was like 2 times where it probably benefited me and then it just went away. So I was like, you know what? I think it's time to try something different. And let me just try yoga. and it's not going to get me shredded. I mean, who knows? Maybe it will get me shredded. Like maybe I'll be really into it and I'll start eating better because of that. But it just felt like I needed to stop forcing myself to be like, I am a gym guy. I was like, maybe now I'm a yoga guy. So I was like, what feels right? I was like, it feels right to sign up for this. And I can go there and they have like an eight in the morning class. And then they also have a noon class. And with the way that I work my schedule, like I can do that. Like I could be working, get up, work, and then work in gym clothes and then walk up the street, do a 15-minute class and walk right back home and just get back in it or start the day like that. So that's where I am at right now, and it feels kind of cool. And so I recommend if check out those books. Check out the let's see, it's "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero, who also was a singer in a punkish kind of band back in the day, which is cool because I thought it was part of the chapter where she's like, oh yeah, I just wanted to be a coach, and I was a coach. I was like, oh, I hate people who do that. It's like, oh, nothing's working for me, but I'm gonna tell other people how to work for them. It's like that, but she actually did things. So I was like, okay, cool. Now your advice sounds reasonable, or it's validated to me. And then You Can Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. Definitely recommend checking them out because again, it gives you something to do, which really is just writing stuff down. Like it's the simplest thing. It's writing and meditating. Like I meditate 11 minutes a day. I didn't yesterday. No, I didn't yesterday, and I may not today. I'm not sure. But last week I started meditating 11 minutes a day, and um, there's a person that I talk to, and she does like readings and tarot card readings, things like that. Like I'm open to fucking anything, man. Like whatever. And she was like, "You really should just meditate. It's just even if it's 10." She goes, "Make it 11 minutes. Do it every day." She goes, "I swear it'll change your life." And I've heard a lot of people say that. So I'm doing that, even though I didn't do it yesterday, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it today. But yeah. So check out those books, even journal, and just put like it's simple. It'd be like I am, and then say what it is. So for me personally, my goal is to like I want to find my person. Like I don't want to just say like, okay, well, I want to date someone, so you'll do. It's like no, I want to like find someone where I'm like, oh my God, like I have to be with this person, and I want them to feel the same way. And then I want us to be like, how do we grow in this life together? Like, what are the things that we're gonna learn together, or what are we gonna have each other's back on, and things like that. So just throwing it out there to the universe again. Because last episode I was saying I'm stuck, and then from that was 2 weeks ago till right now, and now I'm saying, yeah, something showed up. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let me keep putting these things out there. So if you are super hot and awesome, and you're looking for a guy in Raleigh, then I don't know. Or if you know someone like that, let me know. And what else? If you are a book publisher and want to help me sell 10,000 books or buy 10,000 books or something before January 1st, 2022, then message me on my Instagram account. So cool. Go out and manifest cool stuff.